So if you keep up with gaming news at all, you were probably aware of all those rumors surrounding Xbox that were making rounds for like, what, a week? 2 weeks. It all started when it leaked that Hi-Fi Rush would be going over to other platforms, and then that snowballed into Starfield and Indiana Jones are going to be released on other platforms, and then that snowballed into franchises like Halo and Gears of War are also going to be ported to other platforms. I was really tempted to make a video about this back when these rumors were running rampant, but I am so glad that I waited for Microsoft to officially say something about them, because on Thursday, on the official Xbox podcast, a lot of the craziest rumors were put to bed. Phil Spencer came out of the gate saying, no, we don't have any plans to port Starfield and Indiana Jones onto other platforms. And I really hope that all of the gaming journalists, quote-unquote, the Sony fanboys, and the Xbox fans that actually sold their Xboxes in wake of these rumors feel like the biggest fucking idiots right now. This is why you never take these stupid gaming leaks and rumors as gospel, because there is a good possibility that they are either extremely exaggerated or complete fucking bullshit. It's like if I sold my Nintendo Switch that I've had since 2017, back when those Switch Pro rumors were hot. May as well dump this old thing now that a Switch Pro is imminent. Did that end up happening? No. All we got was a Switch with a better screen and slightly better internal memory. Imagine having a console on the market that only has 64 gigabytes of storage in the year of our Lord 2024. Anyway, Phil Spencer did confirm that 4 games will be going multiplat. He didn't confirm which games those will be, but it's almost certainly those games will be Hi-Fi Rush, Pentiment, Sea of Thieves, and Grounded. These are games that either weren't heavy sellers or games that are live service games, so it makes sense for these games to go over to other platforms. As stupid as a lot of the gaming community was during this whole thing, I do have to throw some shade at Microsoft. If it wasn't in the cards from the get-go to port games like Starfield and Indiana Jones onto other platforms outside of your own ecosystem, why didn't you just say so from the beginning? You had this tweet from Phil Spencer when these crazy rumors were hot off the presses. We're listening and we hear you. We've been planning a business update event for next week, where we look forward to sharing more details with you about our vision for the future of Xbox. Stay tuned. Would it have been that much effort for Phil Spencer to also tweet, by the way, Starfield and Indiana Jones will remain on our platform. We currently have no plans to make these games multi-plat. Stay tuned for more updates next week. You would have squashed the biggest and most damning rumors immediately. Instead, this tweet read like, okay, come here, let's talk, we have some serious shit to discuss. People already shit on Xbox for being the platform that doesn't have worthwhile exclusives. A lot of people thought Starfield was painfully mediocre, Redfall was whatever the fuck it was. So the notion that all of these exclusives will just be going over to other platforms, so why even bother with this specific platform, hurts the brand name even further. So it just baffles me that, again, if Starfield and Indiana Jones were never considered to become multi-plat, why would they even let this fester for over a week? People have been saying, well, maybe Microsoft did seriously consider going fully multi-plat, but then saw all of the backlash online and backtracked. That's purely speculation. There's no evidence to suggest that actually was the case, but there was a lot of doublespeak from Phil Spencer during this podcast. On one hand, he was like, oh, don't worry, it's just these 4 smaller titles that are going over to other platforms. The heavy hitters are still going to be exclusive to our ecosystem. But on the other hand, we envision a future where more of our games are available to all players, regardless of the platform they prefer. Here is a direct quote from Phil Spencer. I think there is an interesting story for us of introducing Xbox franchises to players on other platforms, to get them more interested in Xbox. We think there's a good brand value for Xbox there. So, 4 games, no promise beyond that. So if you're on those other platforms and you see those 4 games coming, please don't take that as some signal that everything's coming. It's not, and we're gonna learn. So there is a possibility that the door may still be open for other heavier titles such as Starfield and Indiana Jones and the like to be ported to other platforms in maybe like a year or two's time, if porting these 4 games proves to be lucrative. And look, me personally, I don't really care that much. I have no interest in Starfield. Don't really care that much for the Indiana Jones franchise. It would only make me happy in the sense that when the next Doom game comes, that means it'll probably eventually go over to PlayStation as well, because that's like the only Bethesda franchise I personally give a shit about. But even still, if it came down to Microsoft exclusives being timed exclusives, I do think that is a slap in the face to those who invested in the Xbox ecosystem. I understand that for a while now, all Xbox exclusives have released on PC day and date, but if you're like me and owning a console is more convenient than having a PC, and you care about Microsoft's exclusives, there is still a legitimate reason to own an Xbox. But if all of Microsoft's exclusives are just going to go over to PlayStation and Nintendo eventually anyway, then what would really be the point in owning an Xbox? It'll be Microsoft essentially saying, yeah, we know we're distant third, we don't give a fuck anymore. All of those games that you thought would be exclusive to the platform you chose will be on other platforms now. And this is coming from someone who doesn't like that Microsoft bought Bethesda and Activision. I don't think it's right to buy enormous third-party publishers with so many studios under their belts and all of a sudden say, these games are ours now, too bad, so sad. Buying individual studios, fine, whatever, but again, these were huge third-party publishers whose games have been multi-plat for decades at this point, and now all of a sudden one platform has complete control over them. Microsoft fought tooth and nail in court for over a year to acquire Activision, only for there still to be the possibility that all of Activision's future titles will still be going over to other platforms. Again, I personally don't care because I don't even like Microsoft buying these major third-party publishers, but purely from the perspective of an Xbox consumer, I can see why that is a slap in the face. Because if this ends up being the case, if you buy a PlayStation, you get Sony's first-party titles, Microsoft's titles, and third-party titles, so it would be a no-brainer which console to go with. Yeah, sure, there's also Nintendo, but they haven't released a competitive console since the GameCube, and I am more than certain that the Switch 2 will be a ways behind the Xbox Series X and the PS5 in terms of hardware capability anyway. So, you know, steady third-party support on a Nintendo platform is never a guarantee. And it's scary because if it ever gets to the point in the future where Microsoft doesn't care about Xbox hardware anymore, that leaves Sony completely unchallenged in the high-end home console market. A Sony monopoly may sound nice to the most delusional of PlayStation fanboys, but it should terrify any rational person. That's all I have to say. Bye-bye.